Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about one of the most legendary motorcycles ever built. A machine that roared as if the devil himself was screaming through its exhaust. One that could make any ordinary rider feel like they were perched on a full-fledged MotoGP racer. And then, through the cruel twists of fate, it vanished before it could conquer the world. This is the full story of the Honda NSR250R, the two-stroke bullet that made the entire sport bike world bow its head. The 1980s. A golden era for two-stroke motorcycles, when bikes were fast, feather-light, and gloriously unfiltered by the choking grip of modern regulations. It was a time when engineers weren't afraid to chase pure performance, and when the streets echoed with the sharp, metallic wail of expansion chambers, and no one was riding higher than Honda. On the racetrack, their two-stroke machines were dominating championships, crushing rivals with a blend of precision engineering and relentless speed. But inside Honda's racing division, a bold idea began to take shape, one that seemed almost unthinkable. What if they gave the public a taste of this madness? Not a detuned version, not a polite imitation wrapped in marketing fluff, but a real slice of Grand Prix DNA, packaged just enough to make it street legal. That idea became the NSR250R. This was no ordinary sport bike. It was, in essence, a GP machine that somehow ended up with mirrors and a license plate. Every angle, every bolt, every component was conceived with one goal: to deliver the raw, intoxicating feel of a race bike to riders who would never set foot on a starting grid. It wasn't built for comfort. It wasn't built for beginners. This was a razor-edged weapon designed to be danced through corners, its shrieking V-twin singing the same song Honda's factory racers knew by heart. In an age when riding was about thrill first and convenience second, the NSR250R stood as Honda's audacious promise to the world. If you had the skill, the nerve, and the heart, they would give you the closest thing to a Grand Prix ride you could buy. Honda didn't just stop with the first NSR250R. From the moment the MC16 rolled out in 1986, they were already thinking about how to make it sharper, faster, and more lethal. And that first model, it hit like a thunderclap. The MC16 was unlike anything most riders had ever seen or felt. Beneath its race-bred fairings sat a liquid-cooled, 90-degree V-twin two-stroke with Honda's first-generation RC valve system, an electronically controlled exhaust valve designed to squeeze brutal power out of every twist of the throttle. It tipped the scales at just 304 pounds, which meant its modest-sounding 45 horsepower delivered a power-to-weight ratio that could knock the breath out of you. A quick flick of the bars, and it darted into corners with the agility of a wasp on a mission. 2 years later, Honda upped the ante with the MC18. This wasn't just a facelift. It was a refinement of everything that made the MC16 so wild. The front forks were upgraded for better feedback, the rear monoshock reworked for more control, and the brakes grew larger and stronger to match the speed. But the real magic was in the second-generation RC valve, which smoothed out the delivery without taming the beast. Low-end grunt was more usable, yet the top-end rush still came on like a tidal wave. Then came the MC21, and this is where things got serious. The new PGM3 electronic engine management system took control of the RC valve and ignition timing with pinpoint precision. This was no longer just a street bike. It was a scalpel honed for track warfare. The MC21 also introduced the now iconic gull arm swing arm, a design borrowed straight from Honda's 500cc GP machines. It reduced unsprung weight, increased rigidity, and gave mechanics easier access to the chain, small details that made a big difference at full tilt. For those who wanted the absolute best, Honda offered the SP Sport Production version, ultra-light magnesium wheels for razor-sharp turn-in, a fully adjustable suspension for dialing in every corner, and a dry clutch that not only improved performance, but filled the air with a metallic rattle that screamed race bike. By the mid-90s, Honda unleashed the MC28, the most technologically advanced and final NSR250R. The PGM4 system brought even greater precision to power delivery, making the bike smoother yet deadlier than ever. But what truly blew minds at the time was the smart card ignition. Instead of a key, you slid in a magnetic card. Part security device, part sci-fi party trick that rendered the bike impossible to start without it. In an age when sport bike theft was rampant, it was a brilliant move. Each generation wasn't just an upgrade, it was a statement. Honda was telling the world, we can make this faster, lighter, smarter, and we will. And for a decade, the NSR250R evolved into a two-stroke legend that pushed the boundaries of what a street-legal sport bike could be. What made the NSR250R so intoxicating wasn't just its speed. It was the way Honda baked pure Grand Prix technology into every nut and bolt. At the heart of it all was RC Valve, Honda's revolutionary exhaust valve system. On a two-stroke, timing is everything, and the RC valve could adjust the exhaust port height based on RPM. That meant low and mid-range torque when you needed it, then a savage top-end hit that felt like being launched from a slingshot. No dead spots, no hesitation, just an unbroken wave of power from idle to redline. Then there was PGM, Honda's electronic brain. The MC21's PGM3 and the MC28's PGM4 didn't just control ignition. They orchestrated the RC valve and fuel delivery with surgical precision. Twist the throttle, and the bike responded instantly, as if reading your thoughts. It gave the NSR a level of predictability and control unheard of in most two-strokes, without dulling its wild streak. All that power had to live somewhere, and Honda chose a lightweight aluminum chassis, rare and exotic for its time. It was rigid enough to keep the bike rock steady at triple-digit speeds, yet light enough to change direction with the flick of a wrist. Combined with the gull arm swing arm, borrowed directly from Honda's 500cc GP machines, the NSR had stability and agility that left competitors scrambling to catch up. And then came the race-bred touches. Magnesium wheels on the SP models for reduced unsprung weight and quicker steering. A dry clutch that not only improved performance, but filled the air with that unmistakable metallic chatter. Music to the ears of any track junkie. Even the aerodynamics were pure GP inspiration, every curve and contour shaped to slice through the wind like a hot knife through butter. The result was a motorcycle that didn't just look like a racer, it behaved like one. Every ride was an event, every corner an invitation, every straightaway a challenge to see just how deep into the red you dared to go. With the NSR 250R, Honda didn't just give you a street bike, they gave you a piece of the racetrack and dared you to tame it. But even legends can't outrun the tide. By the early 1990s, the motorcycle world was changing fast. Governments around the globe were tightening emissions regulations, and two-stroke engines, once celebrated for their raw power and simplicity, were suddenly painted as dirty, polluting relics. The very sound and smoke that defined their character had become the bullseye for lawmakers. At the same time, the market was shifting toward four-stroke machines. They were cleaner, more fuel-efficient, and increasingly capable of delivering performance without the quirks, or the oil haze, of their two-stroke counterparts. Riders who once craved the razor's edge were now being tempted by smoother, more practical alternatives. For the NSR 250R, this was a death sentence written in slow motion. Sales began to slide. What had once been a halo product, a technological marvel dripping with race-bred DNA, no longer fit the future Honda and the industry was shaping. And so, in 1996, without any grand farewell or triumphant send-off, the NSR 250R quietly disappeared from Honda's catalog. No banners, no factory tributes, just gone. For those who understood what it was, the loss was more than just the end of a model line. It was the closing of a chapter in motorcycle history. A time when bikes were unapologetically fast, unfiltered, and built with passion first, regulations second. The golden age of the street-legal two-stroke was over, and the NSR250R was one of its last and greatest warriors. Today, the NSR250R isn't just a motorcycle, it's a treasure. Collectors hunt them down with the same obsession some reserve for rare art, and prices on the second-hand market have skyrocketed. Finding one in clean, original condition is like stumbling across buried gold. And if you do, be prepared. Owning one is only half the battle. Parts are scarce. Mechanics who truly understand the quirks and needs of a high-strung two-stroke are even rarer. Every replacement gasket, every precision adjustment feels like a small victory in keeping the machine alive. But for those who make the effort, the reward is beyond measure. Because the NSR250R isn't just another sport bike. It's still regarded by many as the finest 250cc two-stroke ever built. A bike that could turn an average rider into a racer, not just by speed, but by the way it made you feel. The instant razor-sharp throttle, the spine-tingling scream of the V-twin at full song. The way it seemed to wrap itself around you in every corner. It was more than transportation. It was an experience, and it remains a symbol of a wilder age. A time when motorcycles were raw, fast, and unfiltered. When engineers built for passion first and compromise second. That world may be gone, buried under layers of regulations and electronics. But every time an NSR250R fires up, that era lives again. And for those lucky enough to witness it, even just once, it's a sound, a sight, and a feeling they'll never forget. It's been nearly 3 decades since the Honda NSR250R rolled off the production line. Yet every time the sharp crack of a two-stroke exhaust echoes somewhere, you can still catch a glimpse of that golden age, when motorcycles were built not just to go fast, but to stir the very soul of the rider. What about you? Have you ever seen, ridden, or dreamed of owning an NSR250R? Do you believe it's the greatest 250cc two-stroke in history? Or is there another name that deserves the crown? Share your thoughts in the comments because it's your stories and perspectives that keep this legend alive. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and be sure to subscribe so you won't miss the next journey, where we'll explore the machines that once defined speed and passion.